What makes an animated show or game memorable? Is it the music? The story? Well, these all play a large part in that goes without saying. But in this case today, I'm referring to the art direction, in particular, the designs of the characters. Depending on the series, a character's design can go from telling us next to nothing about their personality, or ideally laying out what makes that character in plain sight. If I was to show you these designs in comparison to these, it's likely you'll notice much more distinct shapes in the second group than the first. But why is that? Let's first look how we got here in the first place. Animation's made a lot of adjustments and improvements as it's become more popular. So let's look back on what made so many old character designs so refined and memorable to this day. Of course we can't go back right to the beginning of animation, but I see no better starting point than 1928's Steamboat Willie, and its protagonist Mickey Mouse. Mickey pops due to his harsh black and white colours in comparison to the more detailed grey backgrounds, and although at this time he's missing the gloves, his distinctive head shape only helps to be able to quickly identify the character and, more importantly, his silhouette, which I'll touch on again later. As Disney grew, these types of characters did too, with more exaggerated animal features and large gloves. In fact, it's been this way for many years, but as time goes on, people took what made these characters so popular and apply it to their own work, with the main takeaway being that shapes help develop character. This is something that's made extremely clear in anything by Pixar as an example, such as by simply taking a look at the main characters of Monsters Inc., they're incredibly distinctive and easy to tell apart, a small circle and a large square. Shapes such as circles give the impression of kindness and innocence, lending themselves perfectly to cuter styled characters or positive characters like Steven in Cartoon Network's Steven Universe. Other characters have come around from their limitations in their medium. An obvious example of this is Mario. Though he's been around since before 1985, Mario's introduction in Super Mario Bros. Brought us a design that was more focused on proving we were actually playing as a human more than anything else, with his hat and moustache acting as an attempt to sculpt a face on the NES's low resolution. Technology has had a great part in pushing animation forward, and decreased development time thanks to animation being largely digital over cells has led to faster development of more complex character designs. Programs such as Adobe Flash, now known as Animate, introduced vector graphics, which don't become pixelated. This means cartoons made from even early versions of Flash can still be upscaled into 4K and still look impressive. I'm a big fan of character designs that utilize a strong silhouette and at least one visual identifier of that character's personality, so character designers such as Jason Deemer always stand out to me. Deemer is known for his production art and character design in various Pixar films such as Monsters Inc. and WALL-E. It only takes a quick look at Pixar and Deemer's designs to realize that they follow the shapes help develop character rule I mentioned earlier. Eiichiro Oda also follows the rule of having a strong silhouette, though this is through clothing more than head shape, and for the sake of making his main character Luffy both easy to draw and logical within the world of One Piece. In the series, Luffy's body is made of rubber and can stretch into various forms. Because of this, the story does not lend itself well to him having a complicated character design, so Luffy only wears a sleeveless shirt and a pair of shorts. But it's this stretched form paired with his iconic hat that give a simple yet memorable look to One Piece, and has truly become iconic, even having a statue in Oda's hometown. Rebecca Sugar both created and worked on designing the characters for Steven Universe. A bit like a mix between the other two designs I've mentioned, Steven has a simple yet iconic design that uses both shapes and clothing to tell us about the character and make him stand out in his world. Steven is made of entirely smooth curves, which indirectly gives the viewer a friendlier vibe compared to something much more angular. His simple design keeps this easy to draw and his pink shirt stands out against the blues and yellows of Beach City. Now I'd like to attempt one of the techniques I've mentioned on occasion throughout this video. That being the idea of shapes helping give a character a defining silhouette and making them stand out in a silhouette view. This work from the production of Up is a good example of this, and I'd like to use what I've researched from this project to improve on one of my previous designs from my last year's final major project. Here's a drawing I've created with a newer look for my character. I've also created a character sheet for an older design of my other character in the animation so I can draw comparisons on what shapes we used. The most notable change I made to this character was attempting to modify their silhouette by adding a large dramatic cape. This would have been pretty time consuming to animate in a 3D space, which is why I left it out of the original animation. I also ripped the cape and kept the sports tape to make sure I was telling the viewer the type of character he is. I think how from a silhouetted form now, his square head and large cape keep him visually distinct and unique from other designs, so I think I've succeeded in what I was trying to accomplish.
I think making the design as sort of unique and stand out as possible, using a good sort of color palette to make it stand out, adding parts that when put as a silhouette you can see it distinctly as that character, and in sort of any scene you don't have to be able to have the camera focused on the character to know where they are and what they're doing, because you can pick them out in the crowd. Definitely, yes. There's a lot of series I've watched and started watching solely because one of the characters looked quite well done. The art style it's in fits the design of characters that I may have seen in other series that have been updated. But definitely, yes, the design is one of the most important parts for me. If there's some bad looking characters, I'll still watch it, but if there's a sort of drop in quality with the whole production that affects the designs, then I may consider putting it on the back burner to watch. I would have to say Gurren Lagann, the mech from the series of the same name. Just the design of the two faces, the color palette, the big silhouette and imposing figure, and how it can be manipulated with the animation being stretched and moved, and all the fight scenes. I think it's definitely a very good concept of how to design an effective character.
So to conclude, I believe that character design is important to the animation industry because characters are often the first image associated with a project. So each character needs to display the traits that not only represent their personality, but the themes of the series too. Shapes and the connotations they're associated with are also used to give traits to a character's design, and chances are, the most we can tell about a character from first glance, the more likely we are to be interested by it.